Hello, Jim here. I've been able to earn some really good extra income selling options, and it's had a major impact on my ability to retire. I'm going to share with you what those impacts are, it's actually changed my numbers, and made me look at retirement in a very different way. So stay tuned. I think you're really going to enjoy what I have for you. Yeah, let's jump right in. I typically will give a quick market overview. I don't really have much to add this week. The Fed, I still think is not going to cut rates till pretty late in the year, maybe third quarter, possibly second quarter, like maybe June. But I'm thinking that's probably out the window. The economy seems to be doing pretty well. I know employment is or unemployment is a little bit up, but overall, it's quite surprising. The economy is actually going a lot better than I expected it to be perfectly honest. I also believe that earnings has had a major impact on any company. If they have good earnings, they've got kind of gone way up. If they have bad earnings, they get hit really hard. And I think that's going to continue. I think the market's going to continue to go sideways more so than up or down. We may get a little bit of a correction. We're definitely in a bull market, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a correction, at least until the Fed starts cutting rates. I think once they start cutting rates, we may see new, even higher highs. So just wanted to kind of add that at the beginning. Now, I've been on a journey to not just learn to sell options, but to really structure my retirement in such a way that I can retire. I'm partially retired now, I'm still working part time, but I have that financial independence. I can do the things I want to do when I want to do them and only work for people or do work with people that I enjoy doing work with. So, in a way, what I call early retirement is kind of financial independence, FU money, to say, hey, I don't want to work with you, or I don't want to do this. I only want to do this other type of work. Kind of like me with the YouTubes and or YouTube teaching people how to sell options and invest and how to be better prepared for a nice retirement, if you get my drift. And I kind of describe that as early retirement. And I look at that where at 59 and a half, and I'm currently pretty close to 58 and a half. So in a little bit over a year from now, I believe it'll be May of next year, I'll be 59 and a half, where I can then access any of my IRAs, 401ks, SEP accounts, any of the retirement accounts, and I can pull money out. And that has a pretty dramatic impact. I can start pulling specific funds out of those retirement accounts, as well as still have my brokerages. And then I'm going to push back my what I call my full retirement, probably till my full retirement for Social Security, which is like 67. I could wait as long as 70. The only reason I would do it earlier, say at 62 or 63 or possibly 65, would be if my health went sideways. So, but at this point in time, I'm looking at 67 as my full retirement age. Now, what I also wanted to talk about, and I'm going to share with you at the end of the video, a spreadsheet that shows how I plan my retirement, how I'm going to have this early retirement and then move into full retirement. I'm going to share, I've shared this spreadsheet in the past, but I've gone into a little more detail and added some additional calculations. So stay tuned to the very end and we'll go over that. Now, what I've done is I've broken up my accounts into two different groups. So I have all my taxable accounts at Schwab, mainly because I want to use Thinkorswim. I do like their interface a little bit better than Fidelity, but I'm moving all my retirement accounts over to Fidelity, and that's to earn the much higher interest. It's at Fidelity, it's a true swap account. So any of the cash I have sitting in those accounts that are used for cash secured puts or vertical put credit spreads, I'm still earning interest on those, and I don't have to move funds around. I don't have to put it into a money market, a fund, and then move the money out like I do have to do that at Schwab. So that's the main reason. Like I said before, I do like Schwab's interface a little bit better. I'm also going to start using Thinkorswim, which I think is probably one of the best interfaces out there. So the primary reason for doing that was, again, to earn that 5% interest on those funds that are being used for vertical put credit spreads. I have been able to work with Fidelity fairly well. I believe they both have great customer support. So I'm going to keep the relationships with both. And I just found that this is what works best for me. If you decide to do something like that, talk to both of them. If by some chance Schwab fixes their sweep accounts and it works just like it does at Fidelity, I may move my funds back. But currently, I don't see that happening anytime soon. And then with my particular Fidelity accounts, I've identified where I had converted my 401k into an IRA, and I was able to do a lot better than just having a 401k by being able to sell put options and cash secured puts, vertical put credit spreads. So I moved those funds. I did a comparison between an IRA that I had in the 401k, and because I did so much better in the account I was selling options in, I moved that 401k at Fidelity, and that's what kind of got the whole ball rolling and why I chose to stick with Fidelity for all my retirement accounts. And so that account, which is right around 220,000, it started with 217. Now it's, I believe, a little bit over 230, 231. And I'm able to earn around 2,400 monthly. And you might be wondering, why am I talking about that? Well, that's in the spreadsheet at the very end of this video. I'm going to share with you how I'm in that spreadsheet. I'm going to talk about where you can actually retire, and the numbers are pretty accurate with around 230,000 if you're selling options, earning this interest, and also picking up some dividends along the way. And to do that, part of that is the premium that I earned by selling options. So I'm able to earn on a weekly basis like 600 a week or 2,400 a month. Now, last month, I think I did much higher than that. I think I did closer to 3,000, but that becomes like a 1.1% on a monthly basis. So, and I do get lots of people asking that question, well, how much can I earn on a monthly basis? Now, that's what I've been able to do in that account, not being very aggressive over time. And again, that's an average. I've had some months that I've only done 0.6% or 0.8%, and other months I've done close to 3%. I have found if you try to earn more than 3% selling options in an account, it becomes very risky. You might end up taking too many risks and blowing up your account. So that's kind of the basis I'm going to use in this spreadsheet at the very end. And again, let me just dig a little deeper into what I describe as early retirement. So I've been kind of in an early retirement for the last, 4 or 5 years, mainly because I have enough money coming in that I don't necessarily have to work. I'm continuing to work, but I'm only working for clients that I want to do work for. So I'm working on a part-time basis, and then I've been able to, with options, bring in so much more money, and then I also earn dividends. So a lot of times I'll talk about, what I'm earning, which is around $6,400 a month, just on options premium. And I don't even talk a lot of times about the interest above that I'm earning, and then also the dividends. Now, dividends, I'm right around 2,000 on a monthly basis in my brokerage accounts mostly. And part of that is, let me take a quick step back. In my brokerages and most of my IRA accounts, they're mostly invested, so I don't have tons of cash. Well, one exception is the account I was just talking about, which has got around 220, 230. It has mostly cash. The only security it has is Corning. But most of the other accounts are mostly invested, and most of the investments are high quality dividend paying companies like Coca-Cola, Procter and Gamble, Southern Company, and some really nice dividend paying ETFs like SCHD, IJH, IJR. So that's how I'm able to bring in quite a bit in dividends. So sometimes I forget to kind of bring everything together. And again, in this spreadsheet at the very end, we'll go into a little bit more details and the impact of the dividends, the interest, the premium, and then maybe even incorporating something along the lines of the 4% rule, pulling some money out of specific assets if you don't have quite enough. So instead of going on more at this point, let's jump into the next part of the video where I'll share with you that spreadsheet. And as always, please hit that like button, subscribe. If you're curious about my memberships, take a look below. My $25 membership includes a weekly coaching session. And then I also have every other week I have a group meeting that meets on Sunday evenings. That group is capped out at 100. I think I'm in the 70s now. I think I have around 70, 72 members. At that point, the only available membership will be my $10 membership, which you get access to my trades, my spreadsheets, plus the videos that I do with the active trader group. I also provide that to the $10 membership where you can watch those. And I have a number of collections. I have another collection where I share with you the steps I took kind of on my journey. I put 6 blogs together, and it's in a format. It's almost like a couple hour class. So enough said. Let's jump into the next part of the spreadsheet or next part of the video and go into details about the spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, here's the actual spreadsheet, and on the left I've got a budget that I typically use, and I encourage you, if you don't have a budget, to set one or put one together. This is fairly accurate. I take this from my main budget that I have set up, and these are the actual amounts in my budget. So the homeowner's insurance is pretty accurate. I think it's a little bit more than that, or a little bit less. I think it's like $17.95. The real estate tax is what it is. All these other expenses I've collected over time. Car insurance is really expensive. You guys might be like, what is going on? Why is he paying so much for car insurance? Well, I have a 20-year-old son, and he's also on this plan, and that's why it's fairly pricey, over $4,000 a year. And then I also have entertainment and food, which again, I compare this probably on a monthly basis, and these numbers are fairly accurate. I do have this disability insurance that I believe ends when I'm 60, so I've only got 2 years left of that. I played with the idea of canceling it, but I don't know, a little superstition. If I cancel it, I'll probably need it, is the way I look at it. And again, this is fairly accurate. I spend around $4,500, $4,600, something along those lines on a monthly basis. So if you don't have one of these, again, I do provide this to my memberships. They can access using the same spreadsheet and change the numbers. So, and I'm basing this just on my one retirement account, which is around 230. This is the one I talk about in a lot of my videos. It was 217 when I switched it over to an IRA from a 401k. Now I've got a little bit over 230. I think it's more like 231 or 232. But the numbers here on the right will be based on this 230. So you can see the retirement side. So in most cases, you'd also have money in brokerage accounts, and you may have multiple retirement totals, which I do. I have some other accounts that I'm not showing here. But I wanted to kind of represent the fact that you can retire with a lot less than what you think. There's a lot of pundits out there that try to scare people, make them believe they can't retire and they need to, keep working, keep paying into their 401ks. And I think that's with them, they're doing that for ulterior motives. For one, they want you to keep investing and spending money, and they want to keep you in the workforce. Which, as long as you're doing what you want to do, that's perfectly fine. But if you hate your job and it's killing you, this may be an avenue for you to get out sooner than you ever thought possible. So again, this is all based on the $230,000. Now the income, fidelity, interest, this is pretty accurate. This is the calculation I came up with, what it's paying me on a monthly basis. So of the 230, almost all of it is still cash. And it's even paying me on the cash that I'm using for the cash secured puts and the vertical put credit spreads and those kinds of things. Now, fidelity premiums, this is based on the 1.1%. So the 2,400 on a monthly basis, it's a little bit more because I'm taking that 1.1%, multiplying it by 12, and then tying it to the 230, because over time I should be able to make more. So that's where the 30,000. Now the Fidelity dividends, currently this isn't completely accurate, but in my brokerages, it's pretty close to this, about 2.5% yearly. So once you have the account fairly invested, you should be able to bring in possibly around that amount, like a 5750. And then I did add some part-time work, just so you know, that's what I do. 8,000 is probably on the low end, but I just wanted to show that you could potentially take a real part-time job and make this work with such a small account. Early retirement at 59 and a half. Again, you can access all your retirement accounts, your 401ks, your SEPs, your Roths, your IRAs. You can pretty much access them all at 59. And then I'm going to be basing that on, until reaching full retirement, which is 67. For me, it's 67. Some people, it may be a little higher, some people a little bit lower. And if I'm in really good health and I don't need the money, I might wait a couple more years and do it at 70. Or if I have health issues, I may look at 62 or even 65. I've heard a lot of people talk about retiring at 65 and taking Social Security at 65. So with all those incomes, the interest, the premiums, the dividends, part-time work, and I currently don't have anything for this 3% rule for IRA or 401k, you can bring in around 4632 based on this $230,000 count, which if you're using my expenses, what I'm spending on a monthly basis, I'm coming out ahead with that amount. Of course, I am including this 8,000, but if you did the 4% rule or even went lower, 3% rule or 2% rule or a 5% rule, because it would only be for a few years until you earned your Social Security, maybe you wouldn't have to work part-time at all. Probably because I believe this is 2.5%. So a 3% would probably be really close to this 8,000. We can actually look. Let's just say we had done this at 6,900. And if you put 6,900 here, yeah, you're still making it work. So you could potentially, instead of, move this down here, you would still, in a 3% rule, what it typically shows you, and I've got a link at the top of this spreadsheet where there's a great site. It's literally the 4percentrule.com, where you can plug in these numbers, and using that tool, you can actually see at 3%, your money never runs out. It actually increases. And, when you're 30 years older and you're in your late 80s, it's actually a lot more than maybe $500,000 or something along those lines. And then at full retirement, again, which would be 67 for me, I also will include the 2,200. And this is actually from my Social Security statement. Now, it was from the one 2 years ago, so it's probably a bit higher than this now. But I would, once that's added to it, I would bring in close to 82. And you can see here, there's the 2216 times 12. And that's where it would come out is 82,229, and then monthly would be 68,52. So I would have quite a bit more money. Now inflation would be dragging this down a little bit, but you get the picture. You get the idea that that should last me a long time, because a lot of people say, well, you're going to spend a lot more in retirement, but actually the opposite is true. Most people spend a lot less, especially when they get into their 70s, mid 70s, 80s. They definitely spend a lot less, even considering health care. And then, so again, that's kind of what I wanted to show you. I do want to emphasize the fact that I moved a lot of the funds over to Fidelity, and picking up that interest rate, that could have an impact. The Fidelity dividends, potentially, not dividends, the Fidelity interest could go down. But I don't know. I'm not sure we'll ever get to the really low interest rate, but this is probably a factor. And this is probably could be higher. So you got a lot of leeway. And again, this is, you double this and these numbers are much larger. So as always, this is what I wanted to show you guys. If you disagree, please leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. And again, thank you for joining me and look forward to seeing you next time.